Hello everyone, I'm Christine Burns and welcome to my home here in Manchester. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you today. For many years, I was one of the leading campaigners for trans people's rights in the UK. Nowadays I've handed that baton on to a new generation and instead I work on promoting equality and diversity at a strategic level in the health service. So already I'm starting to feel like a little bit of history myself. I want to say first how honoured I feel to be invited to become one of the patrons of LGBT History Month, and even more, the campaign's first trans person. I always supported LGBT History Month since the very beginning. In the early days, I contributed content for the new website. Last year, I even had an event of my own, giving a personal guided tour of the Identity exhibition put on by the Welcome Collection. Ironically, I hated history at school, all those kings and queens and events which seemed to have no relevance to my life as a teenager growing up in the mid-1960s. As I've matured though, I've learned the hard way how important history is to us all though. As a campaigner, I'm aware how uncovering and understanding the history of human rights thinking and the campaigns for those rights was vital to doing my job. They say that those who cannot learn from history are bound to repeat it. We see that in the way that one group after another has learned to first articulate the nature of the oppression they face, be that African slaves through to American civil rights campaigners, or the women of the suffragette movement and feminist movements in the 70s, or disabled people, gay men, lesbian women, bisexual people, and yes, trans people too. We've all been through the same or at least similar stages. Let's talk about those stages. I think it starts with total oppression, of being isolated, of being unable to find other people like yourself, and then tentative articulation, shared experience, and people starting to analyse what they have in common and understanding that it's wrong and how difficult it is to put right. Then there's the emergence of advocates, and they meet vicious opposition by vested interests. It creates martyrs to every cause. There's the challenge of winning minds and winning arguments, leveraging small successes into bigger ones, mainstreaming, and then, if we're lucky, settling down to mend generations of harm. Those causes I've mentioned aren't identical, of course. It was Mark Twain who said, "History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme." And the thing about rhymes I've found is that once you've heard a couple of lines, you can predict where the meter is going. You can fill in the words for the next line. As a campaigner, history told me that what I was doing had precedence and that there was a certain predictability about success, no matter how hard that challenge was going to be. I think history is also important to young people. We've seen recently how figures like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, with others, are drawing on the lessons of history when they make videos to assure this young generation that homophobic and transphobic bullying, it will get better for them. It's also vital, lest any of us forgets, how easily the advances we may take for granted could be taken away. Already this government's spending cuts remind us how easily women's advances in employment and social rights could be put back. Or we must never forget how it was the Conservative Party who thought up and imposed Section 28. We must never let them forget that. But history doesn't pass from generation to generation without being taught. Already I meet young trans people who've no idea of the struggles we've been through just in the last 10 years. If you don't know about the documented lives of people like the Chevalier d'Eon in the 18th century, then you could easily buy the idea that transgender lives were a recent occurrence. If you don't know the history, the stories of athletes like Stella Walsh or Erica Schinneger, long before the cases like Renee Richards or Mian Bagger, Michel Dumaresque and Caster Semenya, then you're simply not equipped to hold and to win any debate about transsexual and intersex people in sport. And it's on the subject of sport that I'd like to finish. When sporting bodies want to sell us the importance of sport, then they always invoke certain key themes. They talk expansively about fairness, inclusion, opportunity, and even invoke health benefits. Sport's based on the idea of playing fair, for instance, of not cheating. So what's fair about any debate on the participation of trans or intersex people, which starts from the presumption that we are out to cheat? What's fair about making a poor African or an Asian woman's genitals and chromosomes a matter for international debate in the most puerile of fashions? What's fair about exclusions based on presumed advantage, rather than taking the trouble to do the science and find out what the evidence really says about whether we've got advantages playing against you? Sport's based on the idea of inclusion. The rich and poor, black and white, can all play together and enjoy the same opportunity to excel. So what's fair in operating sports facilities where transgender people fear to tread? What's fair or inclusive about saying it's okay to compete, but don't you dare look like you may win? What's fair about athletes starting a whispering campaign behind your back based on white Western values of what a woman should look like? Lastly, sport is cost justified on health benefits. So what's healthy about making rules that insist a fit athlete like Caster Semenya should be medically fixed before she can compete? Fixed, in effect, to run slower. What's healthy about public sports facilities where transsexual people can't go to swim or to play badminton or even use the toilets in safety if they go there as spectators? To sum up, history is important. It's vital to our understanding of where we came from and where we are heading. And sport's important too. But fairness means playing fair with all of us. And so I commend the focus of LGBT History Month on sport. And let's all look forward to February 2011 and 2012. Thank you.